What is up, AKAPADers? Welcome to AKAPAD's Audio Audacity Podcast, and say it with me, for the entire month of October, you're in the 31 Days of Dread, where we do one horror movie a day for the entire month, and we're at day 29. This is what I call the finish line, day 29, 30, and 31. Now, you're getting all of these dumped to you on Halloween Day, on the 31st. Why? Because it's been one heck of a month for ya boy. Every single October just seems to be an avalanche of every possible thing that could happen to ya boy. But guess what? We fight through it, we get it done, and now we're talking the sequel to Re-Animator. That's right. If people call this the Re-Animator, correct them and let them know you don't pay enough attention, and maybe you don't really love the movie. This is Bride of Re-Animator, what you could possibly say is the true Re-Animator, because this has more of the things you would imagine that Re-Animator would have. Re-Animator is more of just a solid movie. But anyway, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get through that intro, let's bounce back, and let's talk some horror. Welcome back. And look, do I even have to tell you how excited I am to discuss the next two movies with you? We're talking Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and then we're wrapping it up with Wolf. And oh my god, you know, here's the funny thing. Those are two prime examples to where before I sat down to watch those movies, before I engaged in the movie watching process. Sorry, any chiming you hear is my phone going off right now, because I can't put it on mute before I record. I couldn't remember what I didn't like about those movies, or why exactly those movies were not good, why they were bad. I've seen YouTubers review both movies, and no one kind of owns up to how good they are, and we'll leave it at that. It spins my head. So I made this point in the intro. On day 28 of the 31 Days of Dread, the Re-Animator episode. Okay, this movie is a prime example to resources. The individuals that do not have resources. Brian Yuzna. Can I get one name right for the entire 31 Days of Dread the first time I try and pronounce it? This dude's decorated. And when I say decorated, I just mean even as producer. He also did From Beyond. We spoke about that last episode. Another H.P. Lovecraft movie. And I watched that last year. And I just couldn't review. I couldn't talk about it. It's just not that it didn't have enough meat on the bone. It just didn't line up. But this dude, even as producer, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Warlock, Bride of the Re-Animator, The Guyver, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. I have to see that movie now. I even know Silent Night, Deadly Night got up to 5. Tex, underrated good movie. Return of the Living Dead 3, I'm craving to see that. Crying Freeman, Faust, Love of the Damned. That based on a black and white indie comic by Rich Vitch, right? I'm forgetting who created that comic. Arachnid, good movie. Beyond the Re-Animator, that's right. There's 3 Re-Animator movies total. This is the 2000 follow-up to the 1995 masterpiece, as I'm calling, and as director, Tarzan, The Epic Adventures. The Dentist 2. Again, it's resources. If this guy had access to a studio and maybe a different level of talent on a regular basis, as you do when you're set up inside of a studio lot, when you become a darling of Paramount or Universal, or I guess Comcast and Disney, you could say that now. Well, you can't even say Fox. You have to say Disney. Like this is what he does. This is what you do. Okay. Like it's just an idea. It's not like this guaranteed. It's a hypothesis. It's like a theory. It's a theory that a lot of these horror and genre-based filmmakers that have a long producing record, long directing record, that these guys. Hey, thank you, Philly, for filling up my airwaves with sirens. Also, well, bad time to record. Like these guys would kind of do more, like it just as of their artistry, experimentation, budgets. Like budgets control so much of these movies, and it does come down to the idea. But along the way, these guys kind of like know how to fight in the trenches. They know their market, and they have a long, illustrious, fantastic career. And I think people like this should just be like honored in some way. Like it kind of makes me start thinking: should I do a like an AKAPAD retrospective Hall of Fame type, for some of these, and like it would entail me going into a very much of a deep dive on their entire filmography, and giving my perspective on each. But at the same time, I feel like like they've earned it. I owe it to these guys to do something like that, because it's staggering. I mean, this guy as producer has been making movies from 1985 to 2010. As director from 89 to 2011. As writer from 86 to 2003. I mean, anyway. So Brian Usna, our director, he put together a movie. It picks up a little bit after the original. The first one ends where we're in South America. It's a civil war, and our two guys from the original, our two dudes they're back at it. Herbert West and Dane Kane, they're back at it. They're experimenting, and they're just moving forward. And look, we know they're going to come. They're going to get into a laboratory. They're like guerrilla medics at this point, and it's just cool. It's a great setup. It establishes them in a different environment. Time has transpired between 1 and 2. I love that. I do feel like that is a fault of The Last Jedi. The Star Wars movies need gaps. They really do. That was a formula that Kevin Feige figured out for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where every single one of those movies, there's a enormous gap. Sometimes there's movies between the movies. There's such a gap. Same type of thing as you would get with Indiana Jones or Star Wars. Or even James Bond. But so this movie, like my whole point with this movie is that the chaos at the end, the gore, the amalgamation of body parts and people, and it's sensory overload. It's hyper violent. It's well shot. It's well lit. Special effects are fantastic. But I would say like the ending of this movie and the experimentation throughout this movie is more in line to what you would imagine Re-Animator being. The first one, Re-Animator. There's more of a story there. There's more of an arc. This one we can kind of just go with it because we know who all these characters are. This is a great sequel. It's a sequel to the first movie. I don't need like a setup. I don't need drama. I don't need these characters. And this movie, when we get to the bride part, it is soulful. It's heartfelt. It's honest. It's real. And there's a real tension with that scene. Love triangle with that scene. It's incredible. Actually, it's four people. Calls our boy Herbert West, the main character, Jeffrey Combs, who is again phenomenally cold and targeted and rigid, and I would almost say if they made a Steve Jobs movie or something, in 1990, I don't know why he wouldn't get the role, because he plays the Steve Jobs type so well in this. Like beyond type A personality. It's like type A infinity personality. But yeah, so like this movie, again, we're not dealing with a sophisticated plot. We're dealing with a lot of what we saw with Return of the Dead 2. Like there's people investigating what happened. There's people trying to figure out something with the first movie. We're getting reminded what happened in the first movie. We're getting callbacks from the first movie, and then like eventually all these characters introduced are going to meet and end. And this movie has this other really cool balance of weird, like almost like goofy horror or goofy comedy with real horror, with real it's almost like there is no sympathy within some of these characters, because they're so obsessed or so targeted. They know what they're doing, and they're not going through the Dr. Victor von Frankenstein like weepiness. These guys don't care. They're just swinging for the fences, and I love it. And this is a great double feature. I'm happy I made this choice. I said before, I was going to do Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2, and 2 is such a mess. That's more of a drinking, like, let's just have fun movie. This is there's a narrative flow to it. It's a narrative extension from the first movie. We get deeper into the characters. We get deeper into their psyche. We still have a amazing score, okay, with Richard Band, who is literally delivering one of the all-time scores with the first movie. And we kind of have, like, we have 80s and we have 90s horror, like the definition of that. I'm not sure if there's a better 1-2 combo that works, because look, this movie, like the franchise overall, it's only has 3 iterations. It's this Re-Animator, it's Re-Animator, Bride of, and Beyond. And Beyond is just this 2003 follow-up that I can kind of tell, like, I can see, like, it didn't impress anyone, even though I am very curious about that movie as well. Like, that looked more of a straight up modern day reboot than anything from some of my initial research. But it's awesome that this is a 2-movie set, and they didn't go further, and they didn't corrupt it, because they could have. They could have done a lot with the chemical in this movie. They didn't. And there's something to say there. And like, I kind of would love to say that even about Ghostbusters. Like, Ghostbusters is this like 2-movie set where the first one's the first one, right? You can never beat the first one, and the second one is this, but it's also separate and connected, and it's all of these things, and it mixes with our the critic within us all, or like that mechanism that makes us try and figure things out on a deeper level. But we have the Ghostbusters 2016. We have a new one coming out. Like, we have this cartoon series. We have video games. There's all of this stuff around Ghostbusters, and here we have Re-Animator just sitting there, being just about a perfect 2-movie set that, again, explains mythology, ends things. Like, everything crumbles at the end of this movie. Everything crashes into itself, and we have like 2 lovers, that escape. Fabiana Yadenlo, she is like your new South American hottie journalist. She is one of the most beautiful women ever to appear in American film, and she's in this movie. You kind of question, like, how does that girl not get like Catwoman by Batman Returns or something? I understand, you gotta give it to Michelle Pfeiffer, but like, like, again, it's like perfect definition of just what some of this talent's locked into, like the stream of content creation that they're locked into. And it's heartbreaking, because every time I drill deeper into some of these names, I want to discover like something, like that they broke out, that they graduated, and so often they do not. And even for me and what I'm doing here, like the constant grind, what am I discovering? Like I'm discovering something very similar for myself. Is I'm only as good as the resources around me, and that's why everything you do to support this show is very important. It's a major thing. I appreciate it. Comments, retweets, broadcasting this, telling your friends, cats and dogs living together. You know the drill. But look, check out this movie. Check out Re-Animator. Make this a 2-movie block. Now, coming up, we're rounding out 90s horror revival the revivals that we started last year. And up next is going to be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So we always have a 3 Frankenstein movie block, okay, with Re-Animator, Bride of Re-Animator, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And then we're going to be ending things with Wolf. That is also a 3 Wolf block. Earlier, we did the greatest werewolf movie of all time, The Howling, and we did Dog Soldiers, potentially the second greatest werewolf movie of all time. But here's the thing, Wolf isn't werewolf, it's Wolf Man. There's an M-A-N in that movie. We're going to be discussing both of those next 2 episodes, episode Day 30 and Day 31. And then we'll be doing something special for 15. 15 is what we missed this year. And that's going to go right into a modern day release of a movie that is literally coming out tomorrow. You can probably guess what it is. But look, rock and roll. It comes out November 1st. But rock and roll. We're going to do this. Let's get through the 31 Days of Dread. Hopefully, you have a great Halloween. So, hey, I'll talk to you soon.